I never thought that I'm going to be in game development per se. But yeah, I was in game development.
Yeah, that sounds so wonderful. Shagufta, what about you? NDTV to gaming, how did that happen?
So I grew up playing everything from Road Rash to Tetris to Spider Solitaire and Contra, but gaming as a career was not something, that was a possibility back then. And, I got wonderful opportunities to lead creative organizations, lead big media IPs that created a lot of impact. And then my co-founder at Second Quest and I were building a sports tech startup, and we were exploring UGC ecosystems. And very quickly we realized that the best place to create a UGC ecosystem is gaming. It's the largest market out there. I mean, more people are playing games than consuming any other form of media, and it's the most interactive. So, and creating IPs that touch millions of people is what drives me. So, which is why we're very excited to be building, on a very mass scale for a very mass audience across the globe.
Very nice. Over to you, Vandana.
So for me, because I was a developer, I was a .NET developer, so C# Java was easy to me to start on. So because I love algorithm, so started creating the logic behind how Sudoku will, how to create the logic behind the Sudoku generations on the expert side. So I started, my first game was the Sudoku only, and I released that on one platform, and it went well. Then I started with tic-tac-toe, the logic and all those things. I think because for this gaming industry, you don't need to search the clients because end users are the customers. So that is a lucrative market. And when I started with the era of when J2ME was in the market. So that time I created lots of games in hundreds with some partnership with some good companies. But yeah, it went well for me.
What I hear, the undercurrent or the one fact that resonates with all the stories is that you had a very deep passion for gaming. I don't think this comes, overnight, and it is not just you treat it like a career. It's more than that. It goes so deep rooted, and that's so interesting to see, and because unfortunately we see fewer women having that kind of passion in gaming, and even if they do, they are not represented enough in the industry. So that's very interesting to see. I'll come to Namrata now. Managing a global company like MPL, I'm sure there are many ups and downs. What are your biggest, ups and downs that you take away every day, and how do you manage that?
Yeah, so I think for us at MPL, it is about how do we make this global, right? So and I think gaming is universal in the sense that it's very easy for anybody to really just understand how to play a game. So I believe it's one form of entertainment that can be very universally consumed. So while that's one side to it, which is to say, how do you really build something that has a appeal across users across the globe? The second part is to say, what are those nuances that you need to balance? Because there are cultural nuances, there are nuances in terms of what art styles work for different users across different geographies. So being able to maintain that balance, I believe, is the hardest thing that's been a big learning for me as well over the last few years. And I think I'll just want to take one specific example, right? I think India is, of course, where MPL started off. We've been around for 6 years now, while the other markets are relatively newer. So we entered US about 2.5 years back. Brazil is probably 4 months old. So they're all in different stages. And I think the learning and understanding about the users is what makes it very different. So essentially, when we started off in India about 6 years back, the kind of users we were building for was, I would say, predominantly male, age groups of 20 to 40. And that suddenly shifted when we moved to US. And I think for us, that was a revelation because in terms of casual games in the US, be it solitaire, bingo, a bunch of these games, the users are predominantly female. 70% of these users are female, 30-plus-year-old age group. So I think in terms of how do you really now build for these specific users, what are those nuances that you bring into the game to be relevant, to be a game that they would want to come back to? I think that's one side of the learning. And of course, I think also having that kind of talent in-house to be able to appreciate, understand these nuances, to be able to identify what do we need to go after, bringing in those user insights, etc. I think that's been the other challenge that we've always dealt with.
Nice. I think, Namrata, you touched a very interesting point that, now gaming companies are also changing the perspective and trying to cater to women players, which was not the scene earlier. As you said, in US, 70% it's women. In India, it's around 44%. So, the question is for the CEOs and the founders on this panel again, like when you guys are trying to build games, what is the thought process? Is there an innate requirement that, let's try and build something for the women as well, and it should not cater to a specific gender, so to say? And again, open to the panel. Anybody can take this.
I can. So I was reading somewhere. So you're saying that whether we are building specifically for women or no?
Yeah,
right?
In discussions, game designing, whenever a game is being designed, is this perspective of gender equality, or how is it perceived by the women as well, or women players are kept in mind?
Okay. Well, whenever a game has been made, it is made for a specific audience. And the audience, what is the audience that you're building it for? That is based on what company's goal is, right? Now, if you say okay, now because I'm a woman and I get passionate, there are certain genres that I love, like puzzle is something that I love. Racing, car, I cannot drive in real life also and in digital life also. Right? But does that mean we've not built games of racing? No, we have built games because I have seen the passion of my teammates and I've trusted them for it, and I will not test that game ever, and I will not give a user feedback on that. Right? So what I'm trying to say is that it is your goal as which audience that you want to cater to. Now, as she rightly said, that when she looked at it, that there is the age group that she was targeting, the MPL was been targeting, they found more women in US, right? I remember once I was in a show in US, either Casual Connect or someplace. There was a studio who used to make puzzles only and for PC, and I saw a lead. She was basically a production head or something, and she was wearing specs and 40. I think she was. I shouldn't be saying that age anymore, but then she was quite an old person, and I was like a young thing, and I was saying, why is she taking the calls? And when I looked deeper, I realized that she is the one should be taking call, because as simple as after a particular age, you cannot see a particular, unless the icon is big enough, unless the colors are of a particular contrast, you don't see it. And that's like the basic thing in your game. If you don't have it, I don't enjoy. I, as in any person who caters to that, does not enjoy. And so that's the time. What I'm trying to say is that for whom are you making? It is absolutely important, and you have to really see it from various perspectives, not just gender or not just economic scale or whatever that might be, but all of it.
Yeah. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, so basically every game has a different target audience when we start to build that. It depends on genre, which genre we have to pick, whether it's a card game, casual game, puzzle game, logic-based thing, or racing, simulation, and whatever. I noticed specifically if I talk about the games like MPL have, they have like casual games, these games which people love to play in their leisure time. And these games does not require much of skill set. They don't require any long strategic thinking. They want a smooth gameplay with some experimental logic behind it, and people love to play that game in a very short span of time. Maybe the gameplay total duration might be not more than 10 minutes or 5 minutes, or sometimes just 1 minute or 30 seconds. And women love those games. If you talk about our grandparents and parents are used to, they know how to play Candy Crush. So we are into that era when toddlers know how to play the Angry Birds, and these are all casual games, and every game has a different target audience, and women love to play those logic-based, puzzle-based, and all those things, all those games.
Right. I'm going to shift the focus from women audience and women players to more on, women in the gaming industry, building games. So, one thing which we have seen or discussed is there's a lack of women in senior leadership. And unfortunately, that's the reality of a lot of gaming companies in India. So, Shakuntala, why don't you, go about this, telling us how does it, what are the challenges you have faced when, having women in the senior leadership? And is there a gap? And if there is a gap, what can we as gaming companies do to bridge that gap? How do we navigate this?
No, sure. I think it's a very, very relevant question because it is the sad truth that representation at senior levels is really abysmal. And I think it starts from a very young age. Gaming is not looked at something, for women.
Conventional career.
So conventional perceptions. Then that results in what career paths women take, right? Overall, girls are less encouraged to go into STEM and more or less encouraged into going into gaming. And then if you don't have people who've come out with those skill sets, how do we hire them? So then the third is, hiring practices. How do you make sure that you sensitize your hiring panel to make sure that you're inclusive, you're encouraging women? And if once women are in the workforce, are you upskilling them? Are you, empowering them? Will all the, tools that they need in their toolkit, to do their job to the best of their ability and to grow? What are the growth opportunities in your organization? What are the learning and development opportunities? And then after that, very important mentorship. And male allyship at the workplace, right? Do they have role models? Are there people who are supporting them? Because, it takes a lot for a woman to, have a whole career span in an office. You'll go through various phases of life, including, turning into a mother. And how do you balance that? So we need a more inclusive work culture. How do you look at childcare at work? So important. I was at NDTV and there was childcare facility, which is why 80% women organization it became. And it's such a small change. So I think all of those things are required. And just last point, funding. For women-led initiatives, we know globally women-led initiatives get less funding and even more so in gaming. So that really needs to change. We're at the Karnataka government event and I would really request that, it's a great opportunity to start thinking about how do we sort of encourage more women to take up entrepreneurship and go into gaming and become founders of product, services, all types of or art studios. How do we, build those founders?
That's wonderful. Namita, have you seen this in MPL and, other places that you have discussed and have a conversation with fellow colleagues of other gaming companies? And I'm sure this is not an Indian issue. This is a global problem. So I think I would like to understand what is your experience as why is there a gap? Why is there a gap and a concern? More than, what can we do to solve for it? I think why is also a very big problem to understand.
Yeah, so I think to get into a little bit of the why, I think I'll first take my own example, right? I think just in terms of awareness of opportunities that exist within gaming, I think that's, of course, probably gotten better now, but probably when I graduated and came out, I probably didn't know anybody that was working in gaming. So I think, to your point, of course, role models is very, very important because if you don't know of others who have taken that path, it just becomes much harder to take that path, right? So I think just awareness of what opportunities exist in gaming is very, very hard to come. I think for me as an outsider, before I entered the gaming industry, I really didn't know the breadth of skill sets that actually go into gaming, right? From what's needed in game development, be it game design, UI, UX design, art, there's so much nuance to it. When a game actually hits the market, launching, scaling it, GTM teams, marketing, a lot of other skill sets that come in. There's a lot of data science, data analytics that runs behind it, right? So in that entire breadth of skill set that's actually required to make a game or a gaming company successful, I don't think that understanding lies or is available for folks who are not in the industry.
Fair.
That makes it very hard for anybody who's coming in, probably just out of college, few years of work somewhere else, to even place themselves there and say, this is my skill set. This is where I think I can belong in this entire gaming ecosystem, right? So I think that's the very first point around just building more awareness. And I believe there a lot more conversations will definitely help. I think conversations, of course, I think we do need more women in gaming, so more role models, be it women gamers, be it women who've taken this path of gaming, building in gaming or working in the gaming sector, that's important. But I think just making people understand a bit more of the nuances of gaming and what does it really take to build a game, I think that will go a long way.
Yeah. And I think, that's a very fair point to make that somewhere I feel specifically in the women in the gaming sector, for the lack of a better word, miss that sisterhood to some level, right? Like there is no that closed door conversations, those really closed groups where you can have those kind of mentorships, except in events like this or where you are having a conversation. Do you feel like there should be more such events, organizations, closed door conversations, and discussions around where you can actually get the mentorship from women like you who have walked on this path and kind of navigating it for the others? What are your views, Lakshmi, and then Vandana?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. And as she rightly said that, the awareness is not there. Just want to give a couple of stats. I think it is last year's report says that there are 44% of women gamers, and I'm sure it is growing, but only 10% or 10 to 12% are into workforce. That's like a big gap, right? And I think that is happening because you enjoy gaming, you enjoy playing, but you don't even know that I can enter into it. And I would like to say that as she pointed out that game development is not just about art and programming, but there are a whole lot of things around it, right? You could be even a finance person can get into gaming, and also in game production, like proper game production. I'm not talking about looking at the finance of a gaming business, but I'm talking about actual game economy design. The statistician can come into the play, to basically data scientists can come into the play. There are a lot of career opportunities that are actually involved in game making itself. And then there are other usual any businesses that has other roles or other career options that also exist when the game as a business comes into the conversation. So yeah, I think awareness is important, and how will that increase is only if we have such things. This is about, okay, fine, I know how to get into it, or I can take this as a career, but the awareness also needs to be, and I would really like to say this, since we have a great number of women in the audience, that, there are usual I wouldn't say stoppages, but there's a slight bump in any women career is when she gets married, or more when she has a baby.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And I would say that gaming is one career that if you are into it, you can still continue to, the dip in your career will not be that deep. You could do it simultaneously. I mean, I actually started gaming company because I delivered a baby and I couldn't travel, so I had to leave my job. So I'm not saying everybody should be doing that, but I'm just saying that. So these are the things that, gaming, I think, please come join gaming industry. It's fantastic.
It's wonderful to see,
I think, I made this switch when my son was born. He's 5 years old
and
now.
that's kind of the most difficult phase in your life, because you're wearing so many hats. You're a wife, you're a mother, and then you have to manage all the responsibilities in office.
Yeah, and one more point I want to say here is that only women can bring the other women up. And you cannot look anywhere outside. And the reason is that when I was starting my company, my parents, my mother-in-law, they said, okay, you can do the meeting and come back, and I will take care of baby. When my daughter was 3 years old, she would go and tell people that, keep quiet, she was on the call yesterday night, so let her sleep, don't wake her up. So all the women in my life have actually, made my career. So yeah, we should do it for everyone.
Vandana?
So awareness is one. I think more women to be a part in on leadership and other roles. But if you look at the gaming is not just about game development. There are other career options, like from analytics, from business to legal to game designing to game testing. We should think all those things as a career option. And I think because the gaming is where you have to write a code, but creativity is also very important. And females are more creative in terms of, creating art asset, or maybe sometime in game designing. So I think there are already lots of initiative are taken care by different state government and other industry side. But we should be a part of all those different groups, and to encourage more women to be a part of these things. And if they require any kind of as a mentorship or any assistance to start their own, or maybe to join the from shift from tech to game dev, or maybe from normal testing profile to a game testing profile, or from a game designing, we should create those kind of a kind of a place where they can come and talk and share their experience and get knowledge, and do the things rest.
Just to add to that, what Lakshmi said, almost 40% of gamers are women. And in fact, we are outspending men, especially in in-app purchases.
Right.
So we're gaming, we're spending money. It's high time we're also building the games, right? And I think initiatives like this, GAFX, and, with M League, the Women Gaming Month, it's such a wonderful sort of step towards making that happen.
Right. I'm going to shift this question a little bit to an interesting question. You all have been part of senior leaderships. You all are in boardrooms where, probably the ratio is 1:10, 2:10. I'm not sure.
1:50.
Okay. That's worse. What do you think, what is that one quality? I mean, I'm just going to restrict it to one. Of course, if you feel you can add more. What is that one quality? What is that one thing that you feel like women leaders bring more to the table in comparison to their male counterparts? Of course, aptitude and intellect aside, what is that one quality that you think that's so encouraging as women leaders bringing into the table? And again, open to the panel.
Yeah, I can go first. I think for me, it's just that ability to listen. I think that's something that can really change where the conversation is going, where even a company's direction, I think. And I honestly believe women are better listeners, because I think, and that's where a lot of other things come in. So if I have to talk about one quality, for me, it's just about listening better.
I think to ease out the things very simple way, like if someone, obviously listening is very important, but to encourage more women to be a part of different role, I would love to ask them to upskill them so that they will go to the next level.
I think women have this inherent ability to keep a very cool head in very high stressful situations. We grew up managing so many things, and gaming, which is such a complex business.
Multitaskers.
Yes, great multitaskers with a very cool head without losing focus. So I think that's something we really bring to the table, which I feel is extremely important in a well-rounded organization that wants to succeed.
Lakshmi?
I don't know really, because I think all my life I have tried to show, because as I said, I have worked in the 1:50 men ratio.
That 5-0-1?
5-0.
Okay.
5-0. Okay. Like the only one person on the production floor, and I was so I have had tough times at every level. I mean, tough time as in, I had fantastic bosses and superlative colleagues. I'm saying tough time meaning it becomes difficult at some point men to take instructions from women.
Right.
And I have struggled majorly. Okay. Because when I became a producer and I was managing a team, I had to literally prove to everybody that whatever you can do, I can do, because this is so as long as there's no physical competition, when it is an intellectual competition, I don't see gender coming into play at all, And so I do not know what is good or strong point of women, because I was just competing to show that, no, I can do this also. Were you doing this? I can do that also. So I don't know.
For some of the aspiring women who are looking for, a career in the gaming industry, or maybe who have just started their career in women, do you feel there is an innate inhibition in women of having an imposter kind of a syndrome, where they feel like, should I double check what am I saying? Is there a kind of, what am I saying? How will this be perceived? Do you feel that's greater in women compared to men, and that holds them back in their growth journey somewhere?
So I think the way I would put it, again, just based on my experience, is as I sort of grew up through my career journey, I've always wanted to first be 100% sure that I can do something before I ask for it, right? Versus saying, hey, let me give it a shot and see what happens. And I think I've realized slowly over time, those small differences is what makes a huge gap when you think about your overall journey. So I think one piece of advice to younger women who are growing up is never think of, can I be first 100% sure and then ask for it? Just go for it. You'll figure out how to do it.
I couldn't agree more with Namrata. I think women inherently hesitate in asking for something without being sure, okay, I can do this, am I good enough? I don't necessarily think men have those thoughts, right?
Including asking for help.
Yes, including asking for help. So whether it's opportunities, whether it's leadership roles, whether it's more money, we have to ask for it. I mean, I spent many years, hesitating, asking my female boss. And then I realized, oh my God. But it's so great to see the younger generation. I feel the shift has happened and they are more aware and they are less hesitant, which is so lovely to see.
Yeah, I think this is changing slowly because parenting is changing, and I think most of the earlier parenting has actually brought that kind of overthinking, being 100% sure of what we are doing, because we do not want to see someone. Basically, we've been kind of we don't want to fail. I don't know. We are literally afraid of failing.
Apprehensive of failures. Yeah.
And for us, failure is really a pity things. It's not like a big failure. So I think risk-taking attitude becomes lesser, and that is perhaps the way parenting was, and that has changed. That is changing for sure, because I know I've been taking those steps to make sure that any gender for that matter, none of the children would have that kind of thing. So yeah, I think things would change.
And to add to that, freedom to fail is so important. And you see this, men fail and are given multiple
opportunities.
Chances. Woman, God forbid, makes one mistake and she's written off.
Yeah.
So I think this freedom we really need to sort of create.
Yeah, and the mantra to success in gaming is, the faster you fail and often you fail, you're going to be successful.
Yeah. Vandana, I think I'll raise this question to you. You have a hall filled with, aspiring students who are here because they're interested in gaming. And, as a woman in gaming industry, what would you give them? What were your key takeaways? How would you tell them? How should they think about a career in gaming?
I think first, very important thing, upskill yourself. If you want, first you'll have to think what kind of role you will be a best fit. From a tech side, from a designing side, or from an art side, or from a different production side. First, you have to select your role and upskill yourself. And there are lots of content available into the market. There are lots of websites available, mentorships available. Just go over them and learn. And then once you have upskill, then you will actually try and do job in any of the gaming studio. Then you will learn the experience how to implement that correctly. And then if you want to start their own, then do that.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing here. She just mentioned that whether you want to become a game designer or an artist or a programmer, understand these three are three different things. Game design and game art is not the same. And that is usually the misconception. So the game design pertains to writing the logic of it, and it's more like a text. You could type a story, you could type the core actions that the game is going to do and things like that. And then art is actually creating the artwork for the game, be it UI, animation, character, whatever that is. And programming is self-explanatory, but I just wanted to say it out loud because that's usually people confuse between.
Okay, my last question, and then I'm going to hand over to the audience for anything. And I'm going to end this at an interesting note. Any one anecdote, and again, anybody can go on this, where, in your career, women helping women you have seen, or how your organizations are working towards, having more women on board. And any one anecdote which you remember in your career where has been a biggest kind of sisterhood that you have felt? Or organization-based, anything.
It's an easy answer for me because NDTV is such an icon with, when it comes to women-led organization. So whether it's, taking the child with you to work, because somebody can't babysit, whether it's, understanding, you're on your period, so, fine, just take a break. Small things like that. Having great, clean loos. I know of gaming studios, they don't have loos for women.
Yeah.
So, small things. So I've been very lucky to experience that, seeing women in leadership roles in places like finance and legal, which you typically don't see. So all of that, I think, gave me a very, like a boost of confidence that I can also transition.
Yeah.
And it's fine. There are transferable skills. Rest we'll upskill. Yeah. But to have those role models and to have worked with them really sort of meant a lot.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I think one part I would like to add, this is about experience at MPL. And I think for me, of course, I made this switch when I was just a new mother and also making the switch from an industry standpoint. I think the kind of support that I got, there were some important meetings that I couldn't attend because, yes, my son was unwell. And the kind of support that you get in those difficult times is what makes you stick with the company for
Absolutely.
longer. And I can now see that it's not just with me. I know there are a couple of women who've been through maternity or going into maternity. And I think the kind of responsibilities they've been given, recognition that they're getting, irrespective of what time they're spending in office versus not, and being able to create that safe space where women can actually take those calls on saying, how do you balance things? And it's up to each individual to balance it, and you're not measured on some of these input parameters.
That's so important. Yeah.
I just want to say that just do it, Nike way. Just do it. Don't worry about who you are, at what stage of your life you are. Just do it, and that's the only way to figure things out. And just be happy to fail. Don't worry about it. I mean, I'm not saying you will fail, but yeah, you will fail. You will fail, guys. So don't worry. Don't be afraid of failing.
I think, it's a good to start and, helping other people around and just give 100% to what the role you are into. Whether if you are you are doing X role, just if you are not giving time to that particular day or, but you have to fill the gap because end of the day you have to be justice to your role.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna open it up for questions from the audience. Yes. You cannot ask question to your co-founder.
I'm going to ask it for everyone. And I'm going to sort of extend the last question itself. Taking those actions in your studio environment and the culture of the organization is relatively easier to do in a bigger studio or a more structured organization, but the majority of our industry is indie game studios. So my question is, from your perspectives, what are some key changes that the indie studios can bring about in how they build their businesses, which can be more encouraging and more supportive of women in gaming?
Yeah, I mean, when she was saying all those things, honestly, I was like, oh my God, I never got all that. And I was okay with it. Okay. So I think what I did, any which was did it indie way, and I've been doing it the indie way. So what I do is that, and my first programmer was female, and I did not recruit her because she was female. I recruited her because she was a good programmer and she was a correct fit. So this is something that I've always kept, that I am not, there are no privileges. There are no reserved seat in my organization. You're good. And irrespective of the gender. That is one. Secondly, of course, being sensitive towards certain, so I don't have any structured way of going about it. Maybe because I knew it, what things would happen if, you want to do something, you're creating a game, and you can't because of certain emergency at home. So I have kind of maintained the culture where, okay, this is not a school or college that we are attending to. It's an organization, and we all are working together for a particular goal, right? And so for all my colleagues, all the people that I work with, I've set them like this: कि हम इस goal के लिए, for this goal we are working towards. So then things you work it out your way. You want to go home where we have a bug and the delivery is day after tomorrow. You want to go home because there's something important that you think. I have given that person, whether a male or a female, 100% confidence that you know what you're supposed to deliver, and I am believing you that you think you want to prioritize that over this, and I know that you will deliver the way you want it to be delivered. And this culture has actually helped me. I have always seen that, there have been women, not just women, even men, they would attend their job and they'll come back, they'll figure something out and solve the problem at hand, or together we find a solution to that. So I think that is at the lowest level you can do, is that treat everybody like person with you who is working on a mission, because it's everybody's baby. It's just not the person at the top, their baby. And if you are able to do that culture, I think wonderful things happen.
Hello.
Anybody else in the audience? Yeah, we have a few hands raised. Can we please give them the mic? Oh yeah, yes please, sorry.
Yeah, so hello. Yeah, I just have a question. What role has mentorship played in your career, since you've mentioned that it's really important to have a mentor, and what tips would you give for women interested in this industry to find mentors?
So I think personally for me, in terms of mentorship, again, I think for me the way I've approached mentorship is it is a sort of a two-way connection that you build with the person, and it's not necessarily that I'm talking to my mentor every month, staying in touch all the time, right? But I think every time I've had this thought about, hey, is this what I should be doing? Hey, is this what, do I need to change course in terms of where am I going? I think for me, just having these open conversations with folks who I've built that mentorship along the way have been really helpful, because sometimes you're very focused on looking at what you're doing just from your own perspective. I think they bring in that outside perspective, because they're going to tell you things not as how you're looking at it, but from what really matters. And this is irrespective of the industry, right? I think for me, the kind of mentors I have are from very different industries because of my experience in consulting, which was very varied across different sectors. But I think the only piece I would talk about, especially if you're interested in a particular industry, and that's something that you really want to drive your career towards, I think it's, again, very important to identify and understand who are those people who can help you along that way. It, again, need not be, one is to say there are certain role models that you would like to understand their journey, what path did they follow, but it could be, again, it could be someone that you looked up to in college who's now jumped and is doing something in the sector, in gaming, building something. I think just be very okay reaching out, and probably not everybody you would reach out and try to connect with will be that mentor for you, but it's important to keep trying, because then you will probably find those 3-4 people who can be that mentor for you along the way.
Also, to add to what Namrata said, there are a lot of programs, not so much in India, sadly, but a lot of international programs which are very open to, people from all across. You have organizations like Girl Makes Games, Girls Who Code, PECSELS, IGTA Foundation. In fact, I was the recipient of the virtual exchange scholarship, which really helped me find other women from, very different geographies. So which really helped, right? Do your research, apply to all of those programs. And like Namrata said, if you find somebody that you feel that you want to take the same trajectory, just feel free to reach out to them. Write an email, DM them, do whatever it takes. I think that hustling nature is very important to develop.
Yeah, and you can essentially find anybody, and gaming industry is very helpful in India. You can essentially just DM anybody and they will help. And doesn't have to be women or not, but anybody will help you, and you can find your mentor. But yeah, I think if we had more mentorship things happening, incubation happenings at the university level, the study level or something, that would really help. Rather, it will expedite the thing, because at this moment, yes, some people are trying to do these things, but they're not kind of streamlined yet.
Yes, more structured programs for sure.
Yeah, more structured. Needed. Yes. Yeah, but till then, you can just reach out to anybody.
Yes, more questions?
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. what roles in the gaming industry would you say are currently underexplored, especially for women? And what areas do you think we should consider specializing in?
Depends on your skill. What is your skill set you are best fit in? Whether, then you will choose that way.
Yeah, I think there is nothing limited because we're still growing, you know. So whatever you have, the only one thing that you need to have is that you need to be passionate about creating games and you need to be playing lots of games. And then you can essentially pick up any career. It will just come automatically to you that what you need to do into this industry.
Also, if there are roles, sorry, just to add to that, roles like community management and marketing, for which you don't need a technical skill set, but you can learn content creation. So if you're passionate about the games that you're playing, the games that you want to contribute to, you can sort of, transition into that fairly easily compared to other technical fields.
I just want to answer this question specifically. In my experience, I think the one thing that I have seen the sector, at least in gaming, where the women representation is the least, is game designing. So to precisely answer your question, if that's something, but again, you need the skill set, whether it is any form of part of any part of the gaming ecosystem that you want to be part of, you need the skill set. But game designing, at least from my experience, I have seen the least kind of representation from women. More questions, please? I think, yeah, somebody behind, and can we please have some from this side, and then we will just come back. Just give us a minute.
Thank you. Hello.
Yeah.
So I'm studying game design currently, and it's again a more male-dominated field, and it's just a few of us here, and the rest are just boys. And I feel like there's a lot of conflict, at least for me, when I try to work with them, because I feel like we come from different experiences, and it's like hard for me at least to work with them in a manner where I feel like we're both respecting each other's opinions and where we're coming from. If any of you have faced this while working in the game industry, can you give me some suggestions on how to work around this issue in a respectful and workable manner?
Yeah, so I think first of all, I think it's great that you've picked game design as the field and going deeper into it. I think it's great to see more women get into game design. So I think few things that I see again at MPL, of course, as we're building out many casual games, and more often than not, yes, it's a couple of women in a room full of men, right? And I think what has helped me personally is to also state where my belief is coming from. Because I think there's a reason behind why we believe something is the way it needs to be, or whenever we are showcasing our idea, our new perspective into that, I think where we are coming from and laying that out has helped me specifically in terms of navigating these situations. Because yes, everybody has certain beliefs which sort of leads to what is that idea, what is that perspective they're bringing to that table. Sometimes being able to first clarify that actually helps others, helps everybody then come on that same page to actually be more open to listening to other ideas as well.
I think being aligned at the start of a project in terms of what are you trying to build as a group together and what is the part to that. I think that alignment, if you find, as soon as you find it, the better for the project. And the second thing is to, not lose your cool, because that doesn't help. To be able to, have a very cool head on your shoulder and to have a conversation and make sure that everything is about serving that goal. So if you're suggesting this and I'm suggesting this, is it helping the objective that we're trying to achieve? And, when you feel, maybe the conversation is not going, use data, research, examples, facts, because, they can't sort of, say anything to that. So that could help.
This is just a follow-up question. I'm so sorry. It's
Please don't apologize for asking questions. Do not apologize.
So we're focusing a lot of design with empathy in my college, and it's like a big thing. You have to design while dignifying the people you're designing for, and it makes sense in a broader context of design. But does it actually apply to game design as a specific field where you need to be very empathetic about the people that you're designing for?
Yeah, I can take that. So game design is basically you are designing to give a specific experience. Okay, So you need to be clear about what experience or what feel you want your end user to have. If your game design is able to do that, you're sorted. Whether you empathize, whatever your means are, whether relying on a data, like you try it out, test it out and do it, or if there is any, so basically whether there is a scientific approach or there is an empathetic approach or whatsoever, doesn't matter. Approach doesn't matter. As long as the experience that you intend to deliver is what you're delivering through your rule set, through your game design, you're sorted.
We'll take one last question because we have time. Yes, please.
Can I ask?
Yes, go on.
Hello, all of you. I wanted to ask, like, when you were beginners in gaming industry, how did you kickstart your career? Like, where did you begin? Can you share your experience?
I told my baby was, actually I was pregnant with my first child and I started my gaming company. And I don't know, and my story is even longer, but we don't have that much time. But yeah, okay.
So I started because being a developer, it was easy to pick as a game developer. And when I start the company, I have to think not just from a development point of view, from a business point of view. Because end of the day, if I have to add people into my team, I have to make sure their growth, their career journey, and then other things. So when you have the game studio, you don't need to just work on a one game, but you also need to how much business or revenue it will you can get from this game. You have to think from a business point of view. You have to think from a marketing point of view, and those things you will. I started learning from while developing a games. That's why I tied up with. I had a collaboration with some other companies to deliver those games to. So that's where the service model came into a picture.
Thank you. A great way to start is by building games, and you can participate in a lot of game jams, which give you this opportunity to work with a group of people who have complementary skill sets. Whether it's the Global Game Jam or the BYOG, and lots of jams across India. I think that's one culture that's become very vibrant lately. So do that, build your games, build a portfolio, and just shamelessly seek out opportunities, write to people, and hopefully that will help you get started.
Thank you.
Just for someone who's not come into gaming from a technical perspective, so I spent a long time in consulting, working across different sectors. But I think for me, what was at the core was really understanding users and really trying to build something that resonates with users. And that's when I made the switch to gaming, because I felt that's the best form of being able to really understand what users want and being able to deliver that through a game. So yeah, from someone who's not been in technical side.
Thank you so much, Namrata. Thanks, everyone. We'll have the panelists down, and you guys can have the questions one-on-one. It's been an absolute honor to host you guys. I think you guys are not only breaking the stereotype and pushing the boundaries, but also taking the charge of change, navigating, and also inspiring new women to join in this industry. Thank you so much, and it's been wonderful hosting the session.
Thank you.
I totally second the thought which our moderator Ritika just mentioned. Given up a big round of applause for our esteemed panelists. Thank you so much for such an insightful discussion on inclusivity in gaming. Thank you so much, panelists, for your deep insights. Truly a very, very engaging session that was. We can actually keep the applause going. Let's hear it for our esteemed panelists. Thank you once again for your valuable presence this afternoon right here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very, very interesting activity for all of you just outside this hall. We have installation which you can go ahead and be part of it. Make sure you participate. It's all about women in gaming. And most importantly, please do not forget to download Bengaluru GAFX app. It's available on the App Store as well as on Play Store. Stay updated with all the schedules, access to our exclusive content. Not just that, it will enhance your overall GAFX experience. And apart from that, You can refer to your badge. You can scan the same, which is just turn around your badge. You will find a QR code. Scan the badge to know a complete access about the event, schedule, and venue details. I repeat, it's very simple. Turn around your badge. You'll get an exclusive access by scanning about the entire event schedule, venue details at just one tap. And as we now have some time, make sure you walk into the expo. It's packed with exciting exhibits, cutting-edge technology, and industry insights. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to take a break. You can head to the expo. You can head to the installation activity. The lunch will be served from 1 p.m. Don't forget to join us back right here at sharp 2 p.m. as our next set of sessions will kickstart. Thank you.